Hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. I'm hooked on a feeling, I'm high on believing that you're in love with me.
Welcome to week 2 of the Bill Neese's Coaches Show. With us is our head coach, Bill Neese. I'm your host, Chip Hare. Coach, let's talk a little bit about week 1 before we move into our week 2 opponent. Chaminade Julienne Indians fall 28-7. I don't know that the score really indicates, first of all, that was a very good football team, and we knew that coming in. There was no surprises. But also, there were a lot of things that we did do well as we move into week 2, but certainly Chaminade is a team that will probably make a deep run into the playoffs.
I think so. I think they were an excellent football team, and they came in, and I thought we did a pretty decent job in the first half to be down 14-0, and I gave up only one big play, and that was something that we wanted to make sure that didn't happen during the course of the game. I think offensively we just had too many 3-and-outs, and the defense eventually was going to get worn down. And in the second half, get into about the third quarter, and they hit a big play on us there. We had a blown coverage, and as a result, that goes up 21. And then at that point, we were playing catch up the entire time. I thought our kids, continued to play well. I thought they, dealt with some adversity, being down that much during the course of the game, and they fought their way back. But the fact remains, we still dug ourselves in a pretty big hole, and CJ, to their credit, executed, offensively, executed defensively.
A couple of things that comes out from the game is we really did handle them pretty well defensively. Really had given some big stops. I think we had 2 interceptions throughout the game. One from Max King early in the first half, and then we had one in the second half with Aiden Meyer, both sophomores. But our defense really did show again some real intestinal fortitude, but also I think that's going to be a staple of this 2019 team.
It is, and I think that their quarterback was versatile enough that they got us kind of in a bind there, into the boundary, and we had to kind of almost pick our poison. Did we want to give up that short pass, or did we want to have something go over the top on us? And we were going back and forth with underneath coverage, and I think our players adjusted well to it. We were able to intercept the ball twice. If you would have gone to the game and said, to me, and said, "Hey, you're not going to get thrown over the top, and you're going to have 2 interceptions," I would have thought that we would have been able to have a lot better statistics than we ended up and did.
Just talk briefly here a little bit about those 2 individuals we were talking about, Max and Aiden. Those are 2 sophomores that I think will, we have, from my understanding, I think statistically listed the most sophomores that we have started since the 2009 season. A good blend we talked about last week with your seniors, but those 2 guys have particularly made some big plays for the Indians. Tanner Kemp also comes in and scores, and he has a nice game for the Indians. So some real bright spots for Piqua.
I think it is, and and it's no secret that the back end of our defense is very young. We have 3 sophomores back there, and even our 4th guy back there is a sophomore, and that's why sometimes you can't do as many things as you might like to do in terms of, hey, let's roll up and bump the coverage. Hey, let's do this. I think you have to play things a little bit more on the realistic side, and realistic meaning that as I talk to other people, I ask questions, and what they don't realize is that I'm at practice with those guys every day, and I know what they're capable of doing, and you have to use that information with all those kids as you're attempting to make adjustments during the course of a game. But I think our sophomores have really done well on the back end of that defense. We had a couple things that we put in terms of coverages, but we ended up and had somebody get hurt, and we had to move positions. And anytime you got to move positions during a game, that's always tough because there's certain automatics that we were doing during the course of a game, and we had to get rid of those, which then made us vulnerable in another area.
Well, adjustments as we transition into week 2, adjustments we are already started making, and I know that we're in preparations for Lima Senior, which we go on our first road game of the year, and it will be our final non-league game. Lima Senior wins in a shootout on their opening night, 49-45 against Lima Central Catholic. Again, a very talented Lima team. We're going into a place where obviously they're very confident about what they're doing, but a good football team. It
is, and anytime you go to Lima, you're going to get a competitive game. Especially this is true with coming off that big crosstown shootout, first time those two teams ever played one another, and it was just we were fortunate to get a chance to go up and watch the game. Plus we exchanged the film. But the amount of big plays Lima Senior had was just incredible, as well was Central Catholic. It was a shootout toward the end of the game, see who could score last.
Talk a little bit about Lima. What are some of the things that we'll see? Similar to what we've seen in the past, or will there be some variances, you think?
Similar. They run generally out of a shotgun, almost all the time out of a shotgun, 4 wide receiver spread. They have been mixing a little tight end, but generally 4 wide receiver. Running back, have a great running back this year that's doing an outstanding job of being able to bounce plays and get out in the open field. And it's going to, again, be a test for our secondary. We got to make sure that we, at some points we're going to have 2 safeties back. Another point we're going to have 1 safety back. We're going to have to try to make sure that he doesn't get out, and we're going to have to box him in, keep him in the yard, so to speak. Going to be big for our overhang players, those 2 guys that play on the edges for us. I think it's going to be a massive game for them because of the screens and all the other things they do out there. They just take the ball out, make it a 2-on-2 game on either side, throw the ball out and say let's go, and then in the meantime hammer you right up the middle with the running back. Quarterback does a very, very nice job of being able to distribute the ball, and also he's a great threat himself, both running and passing.
Lima, every year we play them, has always been a game where it's been competitive, whether we go up there or come down here. Obviously, last year we get the win over them. Last year, I'm sure there'll be a game that they'll be ready for us. But it's been traditionally a very good game through the years. If you look back, Pickwind Lima has always been a good game and a fun game to watch. It
is very stressful to coach in, very fun game to watch. Just in terms of, I think we had a double overtime game with them the second to last time they were here, and then. It's always a back and forth game, so we'll be ready. They always have an outstanding defense also, and we've got to be ready for that. They have a big front. They have a couple defensive linemen that are college football bound, and a couple other kids. I think they're getting a lot of very good looks. So we'll have our work cut out for us.
What are some of the keys for the Indians on Friday night, particularly now us going on the road?
I think the biggest thing we got to do is we got to get our offensive line gelling. I think that's our number one concern. We got to get the line gelling because 4 of those guys are seniors, and we only have eight seniors right now on a football team, and 4 of them play on the offensive line. So we think that's got to be a place where we show our experience. And we worked really hard today. Today's Monday. We worked very hard in getting our offensive line. We need to get our calls down. We need to make sure that we're acting more as a unit. We're not getting those combos down right, and I thought today after practice everything looked good. They're going to run 4-3 shade defense. They got a really good middle linebacker that stays clean most of the time. It's hard to get. They put those guys into shades, and it's really tough to get somebody out on him and get a helmet on him. So we've worked very hard on some combinations, some angle blocking, what we think we can get out on him.
You talk about Monday practice, Labor Day. We're not in school. It does give you a little extra time to work. Is that an advantage for us to be able to spend some more time on the field and maybe also in the film room?
Well, I think it is an advantage for us, and I'm proud to say that we had 100% attendance this morning. After a tough loss on a Friday night, we asked 57 kids to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and come and work out, lift, run, and do everything, and we had 100% attendance. Unfortunately, we had a kid, Colin Rowe, broke his ankle. He was here this morning also. So just the fact that those kids are here, willing to work, is a step in the right direction as always. A lot of the coaches around don't have that type of thing where those kids are here, and if they're here, then we gotta as coaches make sure that we're just really busting butt to get them better. Then
you talk about Colin. That was one of the downsides of Friday night outside of the loss, losing Colin to what sounds like a broken ankle. Mm-hmm. We have to make some adjustments, I know that, but you certainly, as a senior, you feel bad for him.
Oh yeah, definitely. Kid's been in our program for 3 years. He's been a weight room guy. Just been everything that we can ask, and you always hate that last year. Some people say, "What's my senior year?" Every year I think is special, but knowing this is your last shot is is very important after putting that much time in. And hopefully he might be able to come back later on in the season. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, Coach, we certainly wish you luck as we get ready to roll into week 2 against Lima. Second half of the Bill Nisha Show, we're going to talk with Lance and Jerell, both juniors and our captains. First time in the Bill Nisha's Coaches Show that we've had juniors that we've talked about or talked with. Talk a little bit about those two guys, from a leadership perspective, and what they do for us on the field.
Well, they are the two leaders. They're no doubt about it. They're the two vocal guys. They're the two leaders on the team. They've been playing for us since they've been freshmen, so it probably seems like they're seniors because they've been at it so long. Both of them have elevated their game beyond any expectations, and I think they're going to lead us by their example. I think they're going to have an outstanding year, and hopefully their performance brings everybody up to their level of expectation also.
The one thing about both of those guys that I've seen that stands out to me is maturity. Now, Lance is one of the few guys that started as a freshman. You've not had in your tenure a lot of freshmen that have started. He's one of those guys. I look at Jerell, and he's another guy that just matured really from where he was, and now those are two distinct guys that you have ordained as leaders, and the guys really do look up to them.
They do. They gravitate toward them. The thing is that they embrace it. I tell them sometimes, leadership is not always fun. It's not always fun when, it's great to have your hands on the wheel and when everything's going good, but when the storm hits and and the motor on the boat's not working very well, and you got a bunch of things on your mind, sometimes you'd rather give the steering wheel to someone else, and you can't. That's a part of leadership. I think they do a great job of steering the team during adversity. That's when it's most important.
Well, the Indians will steering themselves into Lima on Friday night, looking for the first win of the season, and kickoff again will be at 7 p.m. We'll be back for part 2 to talk with Lance and Jerell. Welcome to the second half of the Bill Nisha's Coaches Show. With me are our captains of the team. I'm going to have them introduce themselves and the positions that they play and the grade that they're in.
I'm Lance Reeves-Hicks. I'm a D tackle and I'm a junior.
I'm Jerell Lewis. I'm a defensive end and I'm a junior.
Guys, you guys are captains of this year's team, and we know there are a lot of expectations. Playing for Piqua football in general, there's high expectations, but now that you're captains sitting in that position of leadership, Jerell, let me start with you. What's it like, being on this team and then being one of the ordained leaders as a captain?
Well, I love it because everyone looks up to you. You're a role model, and if you keep your head up, everyone else is going to keep their head up. You just got to pick everybody up every day.
Yeah, how you handle adversity, how you handle success is really a direct relationship to how everybody else is going to do that. And certainly with us moving into the early part of the season, what have you seen thus far with this football team? Because you have a blend. We have a blend of older guys, but yet some young sophomores coming in. What do you see your role in that position this year with those guys?
They just really look up to you. If you guys can stay up, they'll just stay up with you guys. They look like they've been here with us since their freshman year, so they look strong. Good.
Lance, for you, how, from your perspective, you're a captain. You play a position that you've been starting since you've been a freshman. You're in your 3rd season as varsity, which is unusual. That you have a freshman that starts at the varsity level. How has that helped you individually at this point in time from a leadership perspective?
It's helped me a lot, but I've had to become more consistent. I was younger, so I was able to get away with a lot more things, but now I'm trying to, be more consistent in my play, be more consistent on the field, and make sure that I'm a leader in every situation as best I can.
Well, you talk about getting away with things. I think a lot of things come to, probably being a lot more mental and intellectual about the sport. Reading your plays and really kind of being one step ahead, whereas as a freshman, I think you're probably just reacting, and now you're being proactive as a lineman. Where do you think that really has helped you becoming a little bit more mindful of not just the game, but also leading the team?
What was the question again? My bad.
How does that help you with you being, you're telling me, hey, I've been a lot more mindful with reacting, where I'm thinking about the game more than I probably was when I was just playing as a freshman. Now there's a little bit more strategy to it.
Yeah, for sure. I've been watching a lot more film and looking at our scouting reports. It helps me, like when I see a formation, I can, instead of just reacting to the play, I can just go off instinct. And even if it's not the correct thing, if I shoot the gap, I can go ahead and make the play regardless. So a lot of the things, work out better now.
Jerell, talk a little bit about the expectations of this team coming into it as we go into week 2 against Lima. It's our first road game. It's a little different going on the road versus coming at home. What are some of the things in preparation that we have, not just for Lima, but just having the mindset of going on the road and playing well?
This week, just in preparation, is keep your nose down. I mean, Lima had a big win against Lima Central Catholic, and their confidence level is probably through the roof right now. We had a tough loss Friday, but I think if we just keep our nose down and keep doing what we do every day, Coach Neese will get us there, and it'll be a good game Friday night.
One of the things we talked about with Coach Neese earlier was how good a Chaminade team was. We played probably a playoff team that will have a chance to make a deep run into the playoffs. You're playing, and you look at our scrimmage schedule, we played 3 very good teams, and some of those teams, they too may also make the playoffs. Playing that kind of competition early really does help us as we get into our schedule, don't you think?
Oh, yes, for sure. I just don't think if we went and played at Covington, we beat them by 60. We don't get any better. We don't learn anything. And if we play like a Northmont, a Springboro, like they play kind of similar to CJ. Like they run the jet sweep, and sometimes they run the H-back with the tight end. And then Salina is an unusual team, like offensively wise. They run a hurry up like CJ. But how they run their zone reads are just kind of like CJ too.
Yeah, I think when you look at our schedule and as we get into our schedule, you're going to find that this is our last non-league game, Lance, with Lima, and then we get right into league play. Not that we want to look ahead, but just talk a little bit about the Miami Valley League in general. We're in a new league. We're having an opportunity to play some teams that we have seen before, but we're going to see Stebbins in week 3. Not that we want to talk about Stebbins necessarily, but we're going to see some teams that we haven't seen. What's it like with a new fresh beginning being the Miami Valley League?
It's cool. We didn't play some of these teams last year, but my freshman year we played Xenia and West Carrollton. I think that we'll be able to be successful. We just have to make sure that we keep applying pressure and getting better every week, and everything should go according to plan.
Well, I know this year will be very successful for the Indians, but I'd be remiss if I did not talk about both of you guys being multi-sport athletes. You guys play multiple sports, and I hear, particularly more so the last few years from college coaches, if you want to play at the next level, whatever that sport may be, and I know both of you guys have maybe potential aspirations of playing in college, that playing multiple sports really does help. Lance, you're a football player and a wrestler. How does those two really help you, not just physically, but also mentally preparing yourself, and what's that like to be able to be involved with so many different things?
Football is a struggle within itself. You have to, come here, work consistently every day, and that's cool. But wrestling, it really it's a lot different than football. It's you, instead of having a team, you have a team, but it's just you versus another person. It teaches you how to persevere, how to work harder, and work to the best of your ability so that you can win regardless.
Jerell, you play football, you play basketball, and you also play baseball. For you, all 3, you're busy in all 3 seasons, fall, winter, and spring. How's that transition for you from one sport to the next sport to the other?
It really doesn't. It's just a team sport. You win as a team, you lose as a team. But you take a little bit from everything. Like football, I take footwork to basketball, and then I take footwork from basketball to football to baseball. And it just all around makes you a better person because your feet and how you move your body's better because you do it for all season instead of just coming back around in the spring and just kind of get ready for football.
Well, I can tell you about the one thing that I noticed about these 2 young men is they have grown and evolved and matured through the years, and they love to compete. And guys, thank you for sharing your time with us today. We certainly wish you guys luck as we go into the 2019 football campaign, and we know great things are ahead for the Indians.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. We will, just a reminder, the Indians are at Lima on Friday night. Kickoff is at Spartan Stadium at 7 p.m. For Lance, for Jerell, I'm your host, Chip Hare. We'll see you next week on the Bill Neese's Coaches Show.